The guy came on and said, eliminate the worry of sharpening scissors at home.
Oh.
Forget about Ethiopia for a minute. Here's a major goddamn problem.
Last Man Standing was one of the most successful sitcoms of its time. It had steady ratings, loyal fans, and the legendary Tim Allen. But behind that success, the show was accused of pushing strong conservative views, a reputation that quickly sparked controversy and placed Allen directly in the spotlight. Just weeks after one explosive comment from him, the network pulled the plug without warning. Although the show eventually returned on a different network, things were never quite the same. And when Allen finally chose to end it years later, the real reason caught many off guard. The making of Last Man Standing. Tim Allen knew exactly what he was doing when he pitched Last Man Standing to ABC in early 2011. He had spent nearly a decade playing Tim Taylor on Home Improvement, one of the most successful sitcoms of the 1990s. The show was about a man who loved tools, grunted at his wife, and somehow kept an audience of 30 million people laughing every Tuesday night. Allen wanted to do it again, but with a twist. He told ABC the new show would be Home Improvement, but this time with daughters instead of sons. A conservative dad surrounded by strong, intelligent women who disagreed with him on almost everything. The network said yes. The show was called Last Man Standing. The title said it all. Mike Baxter, the character Allen played, worked for an outdoor sporting goods chain called Outdoor Man. He was a traditional guy in a world that kept telling him traditional guys were obsolete. His wife Vanessa was smart and loving and did not miss much. His 3 daughters were bright, opinionated, and constantly proving him wrong. ABC ordered the pilot, and the casting came together quickly. Tim Allen signed on in February 2011. Nancy Travis joined as Vanessa at the end of March. Hector Elizondo, a veteran character actor, was cast as Mike's boss, Ed. 3 young actresses were chosen to play the Baxter daughters. Alexandra Krosny played the oldest, Kristen. Molly Ephraim played the middle daughter, Mandy, for 6 seasons. Caitlin Deaver played the youngest, Eve, a tomboy with military ambitions, while a young actor named Christoph Sanders played Kyle, the awkward outdoor man employee who eventually married into the family. Nick Jonas also appeared in one episode of the first season as the father of Kristen's baby. The premiere aired on October 11, 2011. ABC ran the first 2 episodes back-to-back, an hour of programming designed to make a strong first impression. The show landed on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, a prime slot that signaled the network had hopes for it. But the critics did not share those hopes. Season 1 of Last Man Standing received a 15% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 33 reviews. The average rating was 4.1 out of 10. The critical consensus said the show relied on jokes that felt alternately dated or hostile. On Metacritic, the score was 33 out of 100, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. The Hollywood Reporter called it a predictable sitcom with an unpleasant premise and bad acting. Entertainment Weekly was more measured, saying the show was not terrible but noting that Tim Allen's softness as a performer made it impossible to hate the series the way critics wanted to hate it. The second season did not fare much better. The approval rating climbed to 40%, which is still failing by most standards. Critics who bothered to watch the third season started to soften. One reviewer called the show an unlikely comeback vehicle that was thoroughly traditional, absolutely charming, and economically efficient with its jokes. But by then, most critics had stopped paying attention. The audience had not, though. That was the thing about Last Man Standing that the critics never understood. The show did not need good reviews. It needed viewers, and it had lots of them. By 2015, the show had entered off-network syndication, which meant it was earning money for ABC every time it aired on local stations. That same year, ABC announced that Last Man Standing was averaging a 1.8 rating in the key adults 18 to 49 demographic and 8.2 million viewers overall. It was the top program on Friday nights. A BC said the show was a solid performer that helped make the network #1 on Fridays. A political study conducted during the 2016 presidential election found that Last Man Standing was the 10th most popular show on television with Republican viewers. Critics had long viewed the show as a conservative counterpoint to Modern Family, another Fox-produced sitcom that aired on ABC and featured liberal ideologies. Modern Family won Emmys. Last Man Standing won ratings battles on Friday nights that no one expected it to win. The show also developed a habit of bringing back Tim Allen's old friends. Richard Karn, who played Al on Home Improvement, appeared in Season 2 as an architect. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who played Randy, directed several episodes and appeared on screen as a character named John Baker. Patricia Richardson, who played Jill, showed up in Season 4 as a widow. Each reunion episode drew attention from fans who had grown up watching Home Improvement and were now watching Last Man Standing with their own families. By all measurable standards, the show was a success. It was not a critical darling, but it made money, it drew viewers, and it filled a niche that no other network sitcom was filling. Conservative families did not have many shows where they could see themselves reflected on screen. Last Man Standing gave them that, and ABC seemed perfectly happy to keep it running. But then something changed. Behind the scenes, tensions began to build. The show faced challenges that had nothing to do with ratings or reviews. And when the cancellation came, it came from a direction no one expected. Behind-the-scenes challenges the show faced. For all its success with audiences, Last Man Standing was not an easy show to run. Behind the laughs and the Friday night ratings, the production faced a level of instability that would have killed most sitcoms. The fact that it survived at all was a testament to Tim Allen's star power and the loyalty of its viewers. But the chaos left scars, and some of those scars would later be cited as reasons the show should have ended. The first sign of trouble came from the top. During its first season alone, Last Man Standing went through 3 different showrunners. Jack Burdett, the original creator, served as showrunner for the first 13 episodes and then departed. Kevin Abbott took over for the remainder of Season 1, but he was also responsible for running Reba McEntire's sitcom Malibu Country at the same time. Splitting his attention between 2 shows was not sustainable. In November 2012, Abbott entered a rehab program, and when he returned, he rejoined Last Man Standing full-time, leaving Malibu Country in other hands. By then, the show had already hired its 3rd showrunner, Tim Doyle, for Season 2. 3 showrunners in less than 2 years. This was a clear sign of an unhealthy production. The casting changes were just as disruptive. Alexandra Krosny played the oldest Baxter daughter, Kristen, throughout the first season. Then she was fired. The announcement came in June 2012, less than a year after the show premiered. ABC said the change was made for creative reasons. The producers wanted a more motherly presence for Kristen, who was a single parent to a young son. Amanda Fuller was hired to replace Krosny starting in Season 2. The recasting was jarring for viewers who had invested in the original actress, but the show moved forward anyway. Kristen was not the only character who changed faces. The twins who played her son Boyd in Season 1 were replaced by a single young actor named Flynn Morrison. The character was also aged up from 2 years old to 5 years old, a jump that made no logical sense but served the show's need for a speaking role. Nick Jonas appeared as Ryan, the father of Kristen's baby, in one episode of Season 1. He was replaced in Season 2 by Jordan Masterson, who played a completely different version of the same character. Jonas had played Ryan as a deadbeat. Masterson played him as an intellectual thinker type. The shift was never explained. Viewers were simply expected to accept it. The pattern of disappearing characters continued throughout the show's run. Muffin the dog appeared sparsely in early seasons and then vanished with no explanation. Carol, the wife of Mike's friend Chuck, began disappearing midway through the series. The show eventually mentioned that Carol had moved out of state. She later resurfaced briefly, played by a different actress. Ed's wife married him on the show and then disappeared along with her teenage son. Jim Baxter, Mike's brother, played by Mike Rowe, appeared once and was referenced but never returned. Even major characters suffered from inconsistent writing. Eve, the youngest Baxter daughter, had a storyline about applying to West Point. When she was rejected, the show did not know what to do with her. She spent 2 aimless seasons wading through a musical career before the Air Force finally accepted her. Bud Baxter, Mike's father, played by Robert Forster, started as a not-too-hip dad who opened an illicit substance shop. But then he disappeared, and the character was killed off-screen, with the show mentioning that Bud had passed away before Season 7. All of this backstage chaos might have remained backstage if not for what Tim Allen was saying in public. Months before the cancellation, Allen appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live and made a statement that drew widespread criticism. He said that being a Republican in Hollywood was like living in Germany in the 1930s. He said, "You had to be careful because you would get hurt if you did not believe what everyone else believed." The comparison of Hollywood to Nazi Germany was not well received. Critics called it offensive and absurd. But Allen did not back down. He had made similar comments before. On Norm Macdonald Live, he said there was nothing more dangerous than a likable conservative. He said he wanted Mike Baxter to be a conservative voice designed specifically to provoke debate. He added that he personally liked ticking people off, just to get a conversation going. That was his stated goal. Not to make people laugh, but to make them argue. At a Fox press conference, the showrunner Kevin Abbott tried to take a neutral position on Donald Trump. He said the show would not comment on the president specifically. But Tim Allen interrupted him by saying they would. The network was listening, and they did not like what they heard. The abrupt cancellation no one saw coming. On May 10, 2017, ABC made a decision that would confuse Hollywood for years. The network canceled Last Man Standing. The public announcement came 6 days later, on May 16th. By then, the damage was done. Fans were angry. The cast was blindsided. And everyone was asking the same question. How do you cancel a show that is still making money? The ratings told one story. During its 5th season, Last Man Standing had averaged a 1.8 rating in the adults 18 to 49 demographic and 8.2 million viewers overall when counting 7 days of delayed viewing. Those numbers made it the second most watched sitcom on ABC, behind only Modern Family. It was the third most watched scripted show on the entire network, behind Grey's Anatomy and Modern Family. It led off ABC's Friday lineup and had remained mostly steady during its 6th season. By any objective measure, the show was a success. ABC's president at the time was a woman named Channing Dungey. She was the one who had to explain the decision. She said the cancellation had been challenging because the show was a steady performer. But the network had decided not to continue with comedy on Friday nights. And once that decision was made, Last Man Standing was let go. The network also canceled another Friday comedy called Dr. Ken at the same time, which Dungey pointed to as evidence of a pattern. rather than a political hit job. But the real reason may have been simpler and less dramatic than politics. Last Man Standing was produced by 20th Century Fox Television, an outside studio. ABC's parent company at the time was Disney, which owned ABC Studios. When a network airs a show from an outside studio, it pays a license fee but does not share in the long-term profits from syndication or streaming. That money goes to the outside studio. For Disney, keeping Last Man Standing meant making a competitor richer. Canceling it meant freeing up a time slot for a show that Disney would own outright. Dungy said the decision came down to 4 things: who owns the studio, where the show was headed creatively, its ratings, and how much viewers were engaging with it. She added that the show had been at risk of cancellation for several years, and each time it was renewed, the decision was made at the last possible moment. This meant that the network had been thinking about canceling Last Man Standing for a long time. But the timing looked terrible. The cancellation came just months after Donald Trump had taken office. It came just months after Tim Allen had made his controversial statement comparing Hollywood to Nazi Germany. Critics had begun describing Last Man Standing as the perfect sitcom for the Trump era. When ABC canceled it, many fans assumed the network was punishing Allen for his conservative views. Dungy explicitly denied that politics played any role. She said the decision was purely business, but Allen publicly disagreed. He said he thought it was mostly a financial decision, but he also believed politics were a factor. He never backed away from that belief. In his telling, ABC wanted him gone because of what he said and who he voted for. His immediate reaction on May 16, 2017, was raw. He tweeted that he was stunned and blindsided by the network he had called home for the last 6 years. He later compared the cancellation to a baseball game being called off while his team was winning. He said he had received no warning from ABC. One day, he had a job. The next day, he did not. The cast was equally shocked. Reports indicated that the actors learned of the cancellation the same way the public did, through news reports and social media. No one from ABC had called them ahead of time. No one had prepared them for the possibility that the show might end. They found out when everyone else found out. Fans reacted immediately. A petition launched within days, calling on ABC to reinstate the show. Within 1 week, the petition had surpassed 380,000 signatures. A year later, it had grown to 438,000. Fans organized boycotts of ABC, accusing the network of punishing Tim Allen for his political beliefs. The boycotts did not change ABC's mind, but they sent a message. The audience for Last Man Standing was loyal, and they were angry. The show's production company, 20th Century Fox Television, did not wait long to act. Just 4 days after the cancellation was announced, Fox TV president Howard Kurtzman confirmed that the studio was exploring options for finding a new home. Variety reported exclusively that the series would be shopped to other networks and streaming services. Country Music Television, known as CMT, came close to picking up the show. The deal ultimately did not go through, but the interest was real. Someone wanted Last Man Standing. The question was who. For a brief moment, it looked like the show might simply disappear, another casualty of the changing television business. Tim Allen's first sitcom, Home Improvement, had ended on its own terms after 8 seasons. This felt different, almost like a door slamming shut before he was ready to walk through it. Finally, less than a year later, a new door opened. The network that had canceled Last Man Standing made a decision that would force Hollywood to reconsider everything it thought about conservative-led television, and the show that rose from the dead would go on to outlast almost every other sitcom of its era. The aftermath and revival. For 11 months, Last Man Standing had no home. Tim Allen went from being stunned and blindsided to being quietly hopeful. The production company, 20th Century Fox Television, was shopping the show to anyone who would listen, but nothing stuck. Then, in the spring of 2018, two things happened that changed everything. First, ABC revived Roseanne. The revival premiered in March 2018 to massive ratings. More than 18 million people watched the first episode. The show proved something that network executives had doubted for years. There was a large audience for blue-collar, conservative-leaning sitcoms. Roseanne was not a fluke. It was a signal. And networks that had been ignoring that signal were suddenly paying attention. Second, Fox Broadcasting and 20th Century Fox Television were in the process of merging. This was a critical detail. When Last Man Standing had been on ABC, the network paid a license fee to an outside studio. That outside studio kept most of the profits, but if the show moved to Fox, the network and the studio would be under the same corporate umbrella. The licensing fee conflict would disappear. The show would become profitable for Fox in a way it could never have been for ABC. Talks began immediately. By May 2018, exactly 1 year after ABC canceled the show, Fox announced that Last Man Standing was coming back. Tim Allen stood at a Fox press conference and joked that a lot could happen in a year. Then he paused and said, "Oh, has it only been a year?" The room laughed, but the joke hid the real truth. The year without the show had felt much longer. Season 7 premiered on September 28, 2018. Fox kept the show in its old Friday nighttime slot at 8 o'clock. The network did not try to change the formula. The showrunner, Kevin Abbott, promised that the show would not be different just because it had moved to Fox. It would be the same family comedy, with the same conservative dad at the center. The only unusual thing about the show, Abbott said, was that in today's television environment, a traditional character was hard to find. Most of the cast returned. Tim Allen came back as Mike. Nancy Travis returned as Vanessa. Jonathan Adams, Amanda Fuller, Hector Elizondo, Christoph Sanders, and Jordan Masterson all signed on for the Fox seasons. Caitlin Dever returned as Eve, but her role was reduced because she had other projects, including the film Booksmart and the Netflix series Unbelievable. The young actor playing Boyd was replaced again, the third time the character had changed faces. One major cast member did not return. Molly Ephraim, who had played the middle daughter Mandy for 6 seasons on ABC, was unavailable when the show came back on Fox. The executive producer Matt Berry explained that Ephraim had gotten involved in other projects after the cancellation, and by the time the revival was announced, she could not get out of her commitments. The show hired a new actress, Molly McCook, to play Mandy starting in Season 7. Fans reacted negatively. Social media posts asked why the new Mandy was not as good as the old one. Some suggested a different actress named Allison Scagliotti, calling her a doppelganger for Ephraim. The criticism never fully went away, but the show continued anyway. The Season 7 premiere was a success by any standard. Over 8 million people watched. That number exceeded anything the show had ever done on ABC. Tim Allen tweeted his thanks, saying the audience had shown up for the reboot and promising that the next episode would be even better. But the ratings did not stay that high. As Season 7 went on, the numbers began to drop. The show was still performing well by Friday night standards, but the initial burst of excitement faded. Viewers who had tuned in out of curiosity or loyalty did not all stay, and the show faced a challenge that had nothing to do with ratings. Caitlin Dever's reduced role meant the youngest Baxter daughter was barely in the show. The The family dynamic that had worked for 6 seasons on ABC felt different on Fox. The show ran for 3 more seasons on Fox. Season 7 had 22 episodes. Season 8 had 21. Season 9 had 21. The total episode count for the Fox years was 64, which gave the show enough episodes for off-network syndication and streaming deals. Financially, the revival was a success. Creatively, it was steady but not groundbreaking. The showrunner kept his promise. They did not change the show to fit the Fox network. They did not add edgier jokes or more political content. They simply continued making the same family comedy they had always made. But 3 seasons on Fox was not the same as a long-term home. The network that had saved Last Man Standing was about to undergo its own major changes. Disney was in the process of acquiring most of 21st Century Fox. The merger that had made the revival possible was about to be swallowed by an even larger merger. And when the dust settled, Last Man Standing would find itself once again facing cancellation. This time, the ending would be different. Not because Tim Allen finally wanted to stop, but because the television business had changed around him, and there was no third act left to write. The final cancellation. Why it really ended. The second cancellation of Last Man Standing was nothing like the first. There was no shock, no blindsided cast, and no angry tweets about networks and politics. When the show ended in 2021, it ended the way most television shows should end, by mutual agreement, with everyone involved knowing it was time. Fox renewed the show for its 9th season in May 2020. That season premiered on January 3, 2021. The series finale aired on May 20, 2021. Unlike the ABC cancellation 4 years earlier, this was not a network axing a profitable show for mysterious reasons. It was a show reaching its natural endpoint. Tim Allen explained it plainly. He told Deadline that the cast and crew had considered ending the show after Season 8. But together with Fox, they decided to add 1 more year so they could produce a full season and create a gentle and fun goodbye. Allen wrote the series finale himself. The episode was titled, "Keep on Truckin'," a phrase that captured the blue-collar spirit of the show without pretending it would last forever. The plot revolved around Mike's stolen truck, which became a metaphor for the entire series. The finale included a fourth wall break, where Allen referenced a joke he once made during a stand-up comedy show. This was a nod to his stand-up roots and his willingness to laugh at his own persona. It was not a groundbreaking finale. It did not need to be. The show had never been groundbreaking. It had been reliable. It had been there for 10 years, first on ABC and then on Fox, and it had given its audience exactly what that audience wanted. The final episode drew 2.5 million viewers. That number was far below the 8 million who had watched the Fox premiere in 2018, but it was respectable for a Friday night sitcom in its 9th season. Fans reacted with sadness on social media. One post said the viewer was dreading the finale because they really enjoyed the show and would miss it very much. Another said it was sad because Tim Allen was one of the best. The reviews were mixed, as they had always been, but the fan support remained strong. The cast did not make dramatic public statements about the ending. They had known it was coming. They had prepared for it. There was no controversy, no backstage drama, and no political angle to dissect. The show simply ran its course. The final tally was respectable by any standard. 9 seasons, 194 episodes, nearly 10 years on the air, from October 2011 to May 2021. The show had started on ABC, been canceled after 6 seasons, resurrected by Fox for 3 more, and then ended peacefully. That was not a failure. It was a long, successful run in an industry where most shows do not make it past one season. So why did it really end? Well, everyone involved agreed that the story was over. 10 years is a long time to play the same character. Tim Allen was ready. The network was ready. And the audience, however sad, understood. The irony of Last Man Standing is that it outlasted almost every sitcom that critics praised while it was on the air. The show found an audience that no one else was serving, and it kept that audience for a decade. When it finally ended, it ended on its own terms, a privilege most shows do not get. Would you like to see Tim Allen make another big comeback to television? Tell us in the comments section below. Don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.